Today's video is all about the Fibre Mood Clover Jeans. If you want to hear my pattern review, stay tuned. My name is Cynthia and you're watching Mountain Accent Sewing. And as I mentioned, today is all about the Clover Jeans. The Clover Jeans can be found in the Fibre Mood issue number 19, this magazine here. I purchased this edition of the Fibre Mood magazine, I think a couple of years ago from the fold line. And if you are not familiar with the Fibre Mood magazine, it does come in more than one language. But in this English version, it has several patterns. It says 12 sewing patterns, 31 different versions, I guess, that you can make. And in the beginning of the magazine, there are photos that shows the different patterns, and this is the pattern that I am talking about. The Clover jeans are like a carpenter style jean, has lots of pockets, has a zip fly, and yeah, it's your traditional carpenter style jean that has even the loop for a hammer, and has your side pockets, has your front pockets, your back pockets, belt loops, and you can make this pant as a more casual pant, or they even show it as being a more dressed up version as she's wearing this pair. And in the middle of the magazine, you have pattern layout sheets, and you can choose to trace the pattern from the magazine, or you also have the option that you can go online and purchase the pattern from the Fibre Mood website and download it, and I chose to do that and get it printed. The advantage of getting it printed is that when you get a pattern that is that you've downloaded and had printed on AO, it includes seam allowance. If you trace out the pattern from the magazine, you have to add your own seam allowance to the pattern. And then in the back of the magazine, there are pages that gives you a very simplified version of instructions. So this is the Clover jeans. It has your size charts, and on the next page it is a page that shows you those seam allowances and gives you some very simplified instructions, which are all photographs or diagrams. And it also shows you that this pattern is an intermediate pattern. So it's a 3 out of 5. And I would agree with that it is an intermediate pattern. If you have sewn other garments and have made anything that with pockets or a waistband, even a zip fly, or either sewing garments, and you understand how to read instructions, you can make this. Now, I did say read instructions, and you're not going to find it in the magazine. However, you can go to the Fibre Mood website and create a login. So you have to create an account, and then you can go and search for the written instructions for the pattern that you are making. So I did that. I went online to the Fibre Mood website and I downloaded the instructions, and you can follow along on the computer, but I like to print mine out, so I did print out my instructions here. I have to say that it is a good size range. So it's a size 4 to 32. And that is, you know, a fairly good size range. Now, their instructions and their measurements are in centimeters. I work in inches when it comes to taking my measurements. And so I just jotted down some little notes on a piece of paper with my measurements and figured out that based on this size chart that I needed to grade between two sizes. So the measurements I was most concerned with was my waist measurement and my hip measurement. So this pattern did recommend that you first go by your waist measurement and then your hip measurement, and if they were not the same, to grade between the sizes. And that is what I chose to do. So for this particular pattern, I fell into a size 20 for the waist and an 18 for the hip. And so I did grade between those two sizes. And then the next thing that I had to do for my size is I had to make a full belly adjustment. I did cut my pattern out that I had printed instead of tracing it. And so I started at the 20 and I did grade down to the 18. And then I made this full belly adjustment and on my pattern piece here. And I will talk more about this adjustment in just a moment. But I did add a 1/2 inch adjustment here. This was my first time making a full belly adjustment on a pattern. And so I didn't know quite where to start. I thought about looking online, but then I remembered that I had purchased this book, Ahead of the Curve by Jenny Rushmore. And the great thing about Cashmerette patterns and Jenny Rushmore's books is that she has a lot of fitting adjustments in the beginning of her book. I highly recommend her book for a reference for adjustments. I had never made one and I didn't know what to do, but on page 118 of the magazine, she has instructions for a full tummy adjustment on trousers. And the interesting thing that I found, I had never given it any thought really, is that she recommends that you take a measurement at the fullest part of your tummy versus, I guess, your hip measurement and whatnot, to get an idea of how much you need to add. By measuring at the fullest part of your tummy and also measuring that spot from where the waist would sit, you can figure out where on your pattern piece you need to make that adjustment. So not only did I figure out that I needed to come down to here, that's where I needed to cut, but she explains where to draw your lines and where to cut and how to shift this. I'm kind of making a hash of the step-by-step instructions on making this full belly adjustment, but she breaks it down into 7 easy steps that I could comprehend, and I made my first full belly adjustment on a pattern, and we'll see at the end, did it work or not. How did I find the pattern instructions? I have to say that the Fibre Mood written instructions are extremely well written instructions. I would give their written instructions 5 out of 5, hands down. Now, the magazine, when you look at it, I would say it's like a 1, out of 5. But for some people who are visual learners, you may be just fine doing that. Or if you're a very advanced sewer, you could do that. And I did glance at that some because I skimmed over some of the written instructions. I have put in button flies before for myself, but I've never put in a zip fly on a pair of pants that was for myself. I've installed 2 zipper flies for pants that were for my son, and that was a quick sew pattern. They had good instructions for their zip fly. And so when I looked at the pictures and I read the instructions for the zip fly here, I noticed that it also indicated that they had a little video on YouTube that you could watch that went over how they did the zipper fly. I thought, well, I'll just watch it. And between watching that and reading the instructions, I have to say the zipper fly went in with no problem. I chose to make the Clover jeans out of a stretch denim. It's a lightweight denim that I purchased from Andrea at Beyond the Pink Door. The color is anthracite, which is a beautiful gray color. You begin by cutting out your pattern pieces and attaching your pockets. Begin your constructing your pants by adding the 2 front pockets. They are large angled patch pockets, and I really love the way they are constructed. And you do a double stitch on this pattern. Now I used just this gray colored thread so it blends in, and I just used a regular denim needle, and I'm very happy with the way those look. After attaching the front pockets, that is when you move on to adding the zipper and attaching those 2 front legs at the crotch seam. And then you're ready to move on to the back legs. First up, these pants do have a beautiful dart. And it's hard to see, but I've got a dart here and a dart here. And you will notice that for some reason I have got a few wrinkles on this side, and this side's very flat, and I have not figured out what I did wrong there. But I'm still very happy with this construction. After you create those darts, you move on to doing some prep work on your other pockets. And I just love making pockets, and I loved attaching them, and this was just part of the fun. For the first pockets that you attach, or the next pockets that you attach, are these 2 pockets here. So you're first making this really long pocket and this smaller pocket, and you're basting those together, and then you're sewing them onto your back pants leg, and this is on your right leg. And then we're going to add the back. Then you're moving on to your back pockets, and these in their instructions have a more curved curved edge here, but you'll see in a moment, I'm going to show you a pocket that it showed it being more angled, and I like the angled look, so I went with angled pockets on these back pockets. And it has you doing a decorative stitch across the back here, and for this pair I just did the gray double line stitching, but I think I would like to make another pair and maybe do a more decorative stitch and something that would show up, you know, like a different colored thread. When you attach this pocket, you do have your belt loop attached to the pocket, but not to the side seam yet. On the other side, it has your back pocket attaching to the top of the long angled pockets here. And so it's all very neatly covered and covers some of those raw edges. You're also completing a pleated side pocket and a flap for the other leg. And this is on the same side where the hammer loop is attached into the side seam. I hope I haven't confused any of you by describing these pockets, but the instructions gives you a very well step-by-step of when you should attach which pocket and when you should attach or sew a seam. So it has you attaching the pockets and sewing all your seams in a neat and orderly fashion. And then the last seam that you will sew on the basic pants construction is your inseam. After finishing that, you're ready to move on to the waistband. And it does have you interface your waistband. Now, since I used a stretch denim, I did use some interfacing that had a little bit of stretch for the majority of the waistband. And then I used just regular interfacing with no stretch at the ends where I wanted the buttonhole and the button to go. And you're also fixing your belt loops and attaching those to the pants at specific spots. And then it has you construct the waistband pieces together. After you've attached the waistband and you've done your top stitching and then you finish attaching your belt loops, you're ready to create your buttonhole, add your button, and hem your pants. And then you're done. In previous pants that I have made, especially when it's been a heavier denim, I've used a different material for the inner piece of the waistband, but for this pair I use the same fabric. I've added a label. I've added just a silver button for my stash. I've used a tan zipper because that's what I had in my stash. I didn't want to go out and buy anything new. I've used black overlocking thread. I've used black overlocking thread to finish my seams. And then I tried on my pants and I realized that I should have made them a little longer. When I cut out my pattern pieces, I contemplating adding an inch in the length, and then I opted not to. And when I tried on my pants, I realized I should have went ahead and added that inch for them to fit the way that I like my pants to fit, because I like them to hit at my ankle or below the ankle. And they do fit at the ankle, but only because I used some fun bias binding to hem my pants leg. If I had turned them up as recommended by the pattern, they would have been above my ankle, and I would have felt like I had on like a little bit of high water pants that were not cropped, but just a little too short. And so I opted to use this bias binding. And I have to say that really did make a difference in the length. But in my future pants for this pattern, I will add an inch. Let's talk a little bit about how I like the pants. The pants are a wide leg pants. I am not used to wearing very wide leg pants, and I felt a little odd. Or I guess I realized that they were not going to work with the tops that I was thinking that I would wear with them. I even tried them on with this sweatshirt that I had bought, thinking that I'd wear that sweatshirt with it, and I didn't like the way it looked. And I'm going to insert some photos of me wearing the pants tucked with a t-shirt tucked in, and it's just a Love Notions classic tee that I made in a cotton spandex jersey. And I have to say, I like the way that the t-shirt looks tucked in. And then I decided, well, I need some other tops to wear with it, as I have mentioned before, I do want to wear these like hiking or fishing, you know, more casually. And so I chose to make another t-shirt. I chose to make another t-shirt to wear with these pants, and it is a free pattern, and it is my entry into the hashtag SewFrugal25 challenge. And if you're not familiar with this challenge, I did host a video for the vlogging tour. I will link that below. It's hosted by Sam at Frugalissima and Ruanne at the Yorkshire Sew Girl. This video is going live today, March 31st, 2025, and it is also the reveal day for the Sew Frugal challenge that people share their makes over on Instagram and tag both of them in their makes. I decided that I would make this free t-shirt to go with these pants, and it also would fit in with that challenge. It is the True Buys Jessie tee in a beautiful black cotton spandex jersey. I purchased this fabric from Beyond the Pink Door also. And I have to say I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. And I will talk more about that t-shirt in a future video. What is my final thoughts on this pattern? I give it a 5 out of 5. I love the Fibre Mood Clover jeans. It is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I believe I'm going to get a lot of wear out of them, and I will definitely make them again. I will just lengthen the length by about 1 inch. Otherwise, I will make no changes. I really am happy with the pattern. I'm very happy with the instructions, and I'm extremely happy with the finished make. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed this pattern review. Please click like and comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you next time.